All right, so we are going to look at viruses today. Viruses have some qualities similar to bacteria, except for this question right here. Are they living or non-living?
No.
Viruses are not alive. They are not living organisms. Okay? And we'll explain why as we go. Right. They are not cells. They do not have organelles. There's nothing inside them, all right, except for one piece. And they have to have somebody else do everything for them. All right. They're simply a container. That's what they are. Bunch of different types, different shapes, different structures, but they all have some things in common. Okay. The first one is they have genetic material. They have either DNA or RNA inside them. That's it. They have this protein shell. We call it a capsid. It's in red for a reason. Around the outside, all three of these have the same a protein shell, and then inside they have genetic material. That's it. All right. They could have an outer coating called a lipid envelope, a layer of fat around them. But there's nothing else to them. If they don't have ribosomes to make protein, organelles, are they alive? Do they eat? No. They are simply a carrier of genetic material. All right. If it has RNA, we call that a retrovirus. Retro RNA. Example is HIV. All right, everyone should know what HIV is. Human immunodeficiency virus. All right. HIV and AIDS are not the same thing. HIV is the virus that causes the AIDS disease. All right. They're not the same thing. You can have HIV and not have AIDS. But you had to get HIV, that virus first, to get AIDS. Okay? Not the same. There's a couple of ways viruses get into cells, and that's the key. Virus has to have a living cell in order to work. All right? Virus can't do anything. It can be floating around in you right now. Until it attaches to one of your cells, nothing happens. Okay? For eukaryotic organisms, viruses attached to the cell membrane, like these three right here. These are viruses, virus molecules. They attach to the cell membrane, and all they're going to do is they're going to inject their genetic material into your cell. All right? That's how they infect your cell. They attach to it, and they squirt their DNA inside or their RNA inside your cells. Then your cell does all the work. Right? That virus is just a carrier. Right? Ones that infect bacteria, like this picture over here, we call bacteriophages. Right? They infect bacteria, so even bacteria can get a virus. It's not just animals or eukaryotes. Right? This bacteriophage right here, you see it's got these little leg-like things. That's what attaches to the outside. And then it's got these little, almost like teeth-looking things here that stick into that cell. And then they stick in, and after they have attached, they squirt their genetic material inside that cell. And let the cell do the work. What's that look for? Yeah, it is. That's why it makes us sick. Okay. So once it inserts that DNA or RNA into that cell, the cell's going to start to do the work. Okay. Viruses are host specific. What that means is there are certain viruses that only humans can get. There are certain viruses that only cows can get, that only sheep can get. If you get them inside you, odds are nothing's going to happen. Okay? Can it? Possibly. But odds are it's not. Okay? We rarely share diseases with other organisms. When we get the flu, everybody had the flu before? It's a virus. It's influenza virus. Cows don't get it because it's specific to us. Right? Those viruses are built to attack our cells, not any other cells. So if it gets into a cow, it doesn't recognize any cells that it can attack. It just gets pushed out as waste. Right? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have two different ways that this stuff works. These viruses work. First one is called a lytic infection, and I would put out in the margin of your notes to lyse. That's where that word comes from. Lyse means to burst open. And that's what's going to happen to your cell eventually. So what the virus does, and we'll go through these pictures one at a time. Virus attaches to the cell. And you see it's inserting its DNA or RNA into that cell. That viral DNA gets mixed in with your DNA, and what does your body do? If it's our DNA and we're going to go through mitosis, meiosis, all that kind of stuff, what's your body do to it? Makes more of it. Okay? So there's a code inside that virus DNA that says to replicate. And so your cell picks that up, thinks it's its own, and starts doing what those instructions tell it to do. Replicate, make all these parts, right? Make all these things. So inside the cell now, that DNA is telling the cell, make a bunch of more of me. Well, what happens is the cell makes a bunch of parts of that virus, puts them together, and forms what? A bunch more virus molecules. When it gets completely done and all of them are formed, that DNA tells that cell, your time is done. It's time for you to go bye-bye, and the cell bursts open. When that cell bursts open, what happens to all those viruses? They go find more cells. How can you get so sick so fast? This happens quickly, all right? So that cell runs its course and it goes fast. It replicates, makes new viruses, and all of a sudden, boom, that cell bursts open and all of these viruses are released, and they're going to go attach to more cells. And then that happens again. And so 1 turns into 10, 10 turns into 1,000, 1,000 turns into 1,000,000 real quick. And now your body is overrun with virus. Okay? Can you kill it? No. It's not alive. Cannot kill it. You have to let it run its course, and the body takes care of it. Right? They can give you stuff to get rid of symptoms. They can give you stuff to, like Tamiflu, that helps you. It helps your body fight it off, but does it actually kill it? No. It's your body recognizes it and gets rid of it. Why do we take flu shots? The flu shot is basically a wanted poster. They inject you with that dead, some of it's dead, or they say dead, dormant virus. Some of it is a actual virus, depending on what shot you get. And your body looks at it and goes, okay, this is a foreign substance. If I see it again, I'm supposed to do what? I'm supposed to grab it and send it out. I can't kill it because it's not alive. But the body recognizes it as trash. Your lysosomes pick it up and get it out of you. That's how a flu shot works. What?
No, Dolly kind of answered it. Because if you say get rid of it,
your body sees it as waste, as a foreign substance, something that's not supposed to be there. So it may it's a wanted. The flu shot is a wanted poster. If you see this, it's not supposed to be here. Get rid of it. All right. Now the problem with the flu is flu shots, and last year was a bad year. They were only about 50% effective because there's 4 different strains of the flu right now. There's A, B, C, and D. The shot only contains 2 vaccine for 2 of them. So if you got, say it was A and B, well, if you get C, what happens? Flu shot doesn't work on that. Okay. I had a friend last year that got all 4 strains at one time. It can happen. All right. Does the flu shot work for them? No. All right. So is it always effective? No, it's not. You don't know what flu is going to be present this year. Did that viral cell change in any way? Do we have a new one? We got an E out there. We don't know. Okay. Questions about lytic. We're going to go through it real quick again. 5 steps. Absorption attachment. That's where the virus latches on to the cell. All right. Once it has a hold, we go to step 2. It injects its genetic material into the cell. Then your cell takes that genetic material and follows the instructions on it to replicate new virus parts. Once it's got all those virus parts replicated, it puts them together. Puts them together, makes new viruses. And then once they're all put together, the last thing of that code says to off yourself, and the cell bursts, releasing all of those new viruses into the organism. Did I ever say cell with that? Did I ever say virus cell? No, because it's not alive. Okay? It is just a carrier. One more time, showing you the pictures. This is a bacteriophage, inserting its DNA into a bacterial cell. So we have attachment, we have injection, we have replication, we have assembly. It's putting them all together. Once they're all built, cell dies, all the viruses are released. Okay, it's a quick process. You can be fine one day and sick the next. All right? Bacteria and virus have that capability of reproducing that fast. All right? Second type, and this one is more good and bad. All right? The lysogenic infection. Lytic infection is quick. It happens fast. Viruses reproduce quickly. Sorry, check something. The lysogenic cycle is very slow. All right. This process can take up to years. No immediate harm. You get infected by the virus, you probably don't even know it. All right. It lays dormant for years on some viruses. HIV is one of them. HIV will go into the lysogenic cycle. Lysogenic infection, it will lay dormant in your cells. You can be infected with HIV and not know it for like 15 years. And then all of a sudden, there's a trigger switch that kicks on, and it goes from lysogenic back to lytic. All of a sudden, you are fully infected. All right? So lysogenic are dormant viruses inside your cells. Another word for dormant is latent. Means they just lay there inside your cell, waiting for the proper time, the proper conditions to start the process. Okay. Like I said, HIV is our biggest virus that does this. Okay. Think about folks who get diagnosed with HIV. Say the person is 40 when it happens. They're diagnosed. How long has that virus been in them? up to 15 years. So they could have gotten that virus when they were 25. How many people have they been in contact with since 25 to 40? Could they have passed that virus on to other people and never known it? The other people don't know it. Why is HIV such a bad virus? We have problems with it a lot. It's because you don't know you have it. And there's not a test that can tell you have it until it happens. Okay? Herpes is another one. There are a lot of different forms of herpes. Everybody got this one? All right, so lysogenic. Similar start. All right. The virus attaches. It inserts its DNA or RNA into the cell. But instead of the cell reading it right away, it joins in with the host DNA. It embeds itself into the host DNA. Once that happens, we call that DNA now a prophage, because is it the cell's DNA anymore? No, it's DNA from the cell and DNA from the virus mixed together. So we give it a new name. All right. It stays in there, in that DNA, until some trigger activates it. All right. Now, this whole time, that 15 years that it's laying in your cell, what's your cell doing, all cells doing during that time? Yeah, they're replicating. And do they replicate just their own DNA? No, they replicate and make new cells with that virus in there. So over time, what happens to all of your cells? They all are infected. Okay? Makes this, the good, you don't instantly get the disease. The bad, when it happens, it's going to be bad because all of your cells are going to go into this at the same time. Okay? So this is showing you one cell. What happens when it gets to that part where it bursts and there are 50 million cells in your body that do it all at the same time? You get very infected very fast. Okay? Can stay inactive in the host for long periods of time. I've already said that. It gets replicated along with it. Okay. Many cells contain these bacteria, these virus parts, this virus genetic material. Said all that. All right. Once there's some trigger, it could be, I'm going to say what, but it could be there's something that triggers it. There's a trigger that turns it on. All right. Makes that DNA go into the lytic cycle. And then once it goes in the lytic cycle, all those cells, they all burst at the same time. It could simply be, like I say here, ultraviolet radiation. Too much sun causes it to happen. Carcinogens. Someone who smokes, things like that, can trigger these things to happen. Everything bursts, and most of these types of viruses are deadly. We call them virulent. All right. They are deadly. Is HIV a deadly virus? Yes. There's no cure for it at the present. There's nothing you can do for it because we can't kill it. And the fact that you don't know you have it for a long period of time makes it even worse. Okay. So here's the whole cycle. We'll walk through this step by step. All right. This side of it right here is the lytic cycle. This side, go this way and go over here, is the lysogenic cycle. All right. It just keeps going, replicating, and then all of a sudden one day something triggers it, boom, it goes into the lytic cycle, and all of a sudden you have all of these virus molecules just filled throughout your body. All right. Why is it? Your parents probably preach this. teachers preach this. Why do you hear the words safe sex?
Because you don't know about people.
HIV, for one, is transmitted through any bodily fluid. Blood, urine, semen, any bodily fluid. Do you know at the time when you have sex if you have it or they have it? No. All right. Got to think about these things. Start thinking about them. All right. What do you want to live with 15 years from now? Okay. It's not, because you'll be dead pretty quick. All right. Measles. Measles is a virus. All right. In children, it's not as bad. It's bad. All right. It's even worse when you get them as an adult, because in children, it's not as, because it's harder for you for this now. You're inoculated. Mononucleosis. Mono. All right. It's called the kissing disease because it's transmitted through saliva. And it usually affects your throat region. All right. Herpes. This is one type of herpes right here is very common. People get, call them fever blisters, cold sores. It's herpes. All right. It's a very common one. Does it kill you? No. It goes away over a period of time. Runs its course, goes away. Your body gets rid of it. Will you get it again?
Probably.
Yeah. You're susceptible to it. If you got it once, you're probably going to get it again. Okay? Can it be spread? Yeah, if this is an open wound from that virus and you kiss somebody, you drink after them, you eat after them, could they pass it to you? Yes. All right. Never eat or drink after other people. Now, there's another one of these. It's called genital herpes. Well, you get this in the nether regions. Imagine how bad it hurts on your lip. And you put it down there. It's painful. Okay? Passed on through sex. And we're going to spend a few minutes here talking about HIV. Since it is the most prevalent one, everybody knows about it. All right? HIV it's the worst because it can lay dormant the longest. All right? This is an actual HIV virus. It has all these little things around the outside that attach to your cell. They float around in there. When they come in contact with the cell, they stick to it, and then they inject its stuff into your cell. Okay? It doesn't do anything initially. It lays dormant in your cells. Your cells replicate, reproduce, make more, and it's the same time they're making more and more and more HIV. Until one day something triggers it to activate. It goes in, they all lyse at the same time. You're fully infected. It turns into AIDS. All right. Think the example I always give. Everybody know who Magic Johnson is? All right. Magic Johnson, professional basketball player. Very well known, very popular. All right. He got diagnosed with it. He had HIV. Okay. He's still alive. But you think if he got diagnosed at age 40, he's a professional basketball player. How many people does he come in contact with? A lot. Anybody here play sports? When you play sport like basketball and you are constantly moving, you do what?
Sweat.
You sweat. And you touch people. and your sweat gets put onto their skin, to their pores, could he have passed it to other players? Yeah. How many people from the age, we'll say if he diagnosed at 40, it could be 25 to 40. How many people he have sex with between 25 and 40?
0.
How many people could he have passed that disease on to? Then you got to think about his wife
Millions.
and his kids.
Oh wait, so
His kids.
if you had kids with,
Whoa.
so let's say that you had kids at age 33 and he got it at 40. It means like he got it.
He didn't get it at 40. He was diagnosed at 40. He could have got it at 25.
I know, but when kids get diagnosed with it,
The kids don't know.
You should go get.
They won't know if they have it until they have it. But,
So is HIV transferred to other crops?
yep, because it's your cells. It's in your cells. It's in all your cells. You be safe. That's how. All right. How we can try to prevent some of this. All right. For bacteria, we used antibiotics. For viruses, we use vaccines. Now, they're the exact opposite. Bacterial infection, you can take the antibiotic after to kill it. For a virus, when do you have to have the vaccine? Before you get it. All right. That's why we have flu shots. We have pneumonia shots. You have this whole gamut of shots you had to take as a kid. You wouldn't be allowed in this building if you didn't have a shot record and have all your shots. Because we don't want, you put one person, patient 0, that has a virus in the mix of a group of 3,000 kids, what could happen? We could pass it from kid to kid, to teacher, back to homes. That's why you have to have a shot record. We have to prove that you have been immunized for all these things so that you don't get them. Okay? As we said earlier, we talked about the flu shot. Vaccine stimulates the body's immune response. It stimulates it to recognize something that shouldn't be there. So that if it sees it again in the future, it knows to get rid of it. Okay? This is the only way we have to help control the spread of virus. There's no other way. We can't kill it. They can't go into your cells and take the DNA out of each of your cells. Once you have it, you have it. Okay? If you get it once, are you susceptible to get it again? Yeah. Can you take a vaccine next time and hopefully it'll work? Yes. You get the flu this year, next year you can take a flu shot and not get the flu. All right. Make sense? Vaccines, viruses, antibiotics, bacteria. Got to keep those two together.